Let's go ahead and start now with Kathy Kelly. Tell us a memory, and I'm going to talk about the Marietta Square. Hold it close to your mouth too.
Oh, good. I get to tell these stories first. So, I'll be quick with them. There's a lot of little ones. There is going to the. Now I forgot the name of it.
It's
I'm getting
okay.
old. The shoe store.
Coggins.
Thank you.
We're here to help.
Coggins and getting your feet x-rayed. So that was a biggie. And then I would always go into the bookstore to Mr. Medford because he was always so kind to, 5-year-old little Kathy Kelly. That I remember. And then getting a little older, I remember going into Goldstein's, but they watched you like a hawk. I mean, you walked around and they were right there next to you. And I guess they thought we were going to steal something. But anyway, and then of course going to the Strand, 25 cents I think it was to get in. But what I remember is I would sneak upstairs and get up in the balcony where we weren't supposed to be sitting. Because that was a better spot. That's the way I felt about it. So anyway, that's basically it.
Let's give it up for what's in morning salad?
Yes, this is our house salad, local greens, and then it's tossed with our house-made white balsamic vinaigrette.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Back to you, Martha. Martha has the floor. Martha Kirby Farrell.
Hello. Hello. Well, I guess since I'm early in this group, I'll be the one to talk about remembering when Atherton's blew up. I was on the square. It was Halloween. Had been trick-or-treating. They had some kind of event. Maybe all of y'all were up here too. My mother brought my sister and I, and we done our Halloween thing, and we had probably only been gone 30 minutes, 45 minutes when it blew up. So that's such a memory, of course. Long before that, growing up in the First Baptist Church down the street, we used to sneak out of First Baptist and go to Atherton's to the soda fountain bar. And, that was our sneaking out on Sunday thing we did. The Presbyterians never did that, Baptists.
Yes, we did.
But anyway, Atherton's a big memory. But I remember back to school shopping, going to Coggins, getting your saddle Oxfords, going to Mr. Medford's, going to Saul's, all the shops. I just loved them all. Some shopping. But anyways, it's a fun place to grow up, and I'm happy to still be here. Thank you.
Also, tell us when you're finished, too. Ken Farrell, tell us your memories of the square.
I'm not finished. I was speaking of the day that blew up. Mike Henderson, Mark and Bill Fortune, myself, Todd Roller sometimes, and sometimes Lois. That day, just the four of us were up here on our bicycles going to the hardware store to buy carbide and dynamite wire. You would make little carbide bombs that would blow the top off.
Did you blow up after this?
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I totally deny that on camera. But that, and I remember Johnny Walker's store, because Davis was a good friend of my dad's, and we up here in the barber shop was over there across from the theater in the square, and I would have no hair after I got in there, because that's what Dad did. I'm done.
Let's give it up Ken. This is the thing. Tell us your name, your maiden name, and your married name, because not everybody
Nosy.
knows it, yeah, so go ahead, Barbara.
I'm gonna take time. Well, my maiden name was Barbara Coles. I was supposed to graduate in '73, but I graduated in '72 because I was ready to get out of that high school. But anyway, I married Biddle, had children, divorced, and then I married David White, whose whole family went to Marietta High School too, and were big members at the First Baptist Church. But I didn't move here until junior high school, as we called it then. And I went to Keith, and we would walk to the square after school every day. And at that time, we stayed on the Dunaway side of the square. That seemed to be a divide that, from what I understood, whether true or not, that the middle school or junior high kids needed to go to Dunaway after school for their French fries and vanilla Coke or cherry Coke, and that the high school kids went to Atherton's. So I don't know if that was true or not, but that was the impression that I got. So that's fond memories of those French fries, and I had never had anything so wonderful as a vanilla Coke or a cherry Coke, and you still can't find them like that anymore because they use real syrup to add to make those Cokes. Another memory is the Joanne shop that was here. It was on the other side of the square before they tore down the courthouse, and the courthouse was gone when we moved here, and the new courthouse was there. And that's where, if you really wanted something nice to wear besides McRae Latimer, which was really pricey, you would go to shop, and my mother knew all the ladies in there, and we would have to go to Leaders for the big stuff for my brother, because they always had the larger sizes, and he was a tall, lanky guy then. And let's see, another memory, I'm just gonna give you a few short ones, was the 4th of July back then. I remember there was a flagpole, and unless I'm making this up, they would have money at the top of it, and you would try to crawl up there to get it on the 4th of July.
That sounds safe.
And I never tried, but I would always be up here on the square on the 4th of July, and now it's just turned into a really big hullabaloo. And then when I went to Marietta High School, of course, went to Atherton's, and the guy behind the counter, Clell, I think that was his name. He opened, as everybody knows, I guess, the Clell restaurant, and then we followed him there. So anything other I could tell you, I might get in trouble for. But I'm through.
Introduce yourself and tell us your memories.
My name is Sandra Johnson. My earliest memory is when I was a little girl, still when we lived out in East Marietta, but would come to town for whatever reason, was the playground. Playing on the playground, whatever the thing was that would go round and around and jump on it. It would make me sick. But I still did it, so, which is sort of sad, isn't it? And I remember going to Murray's Shoes. You wouldn't leave there unless those shoes fit. My mama took us there. They were so nice, and if they didn't have them in your size, you didn't get them. So I remember McClellan's. Loved to go to McClellan's as a little kid, and here, because of the wood floor, walking on the wood floor, and they had a fountain in there. And then when a soda fountain in there. I remember once we did move to town, we'd go to the Strand Theater and always stop. You could go there and spend all day on a Saturday for very little, whatever it was, 25 or 50 cents. and watch the movie over and over again. Then we'd go and walk over to McClellan's, and they'd have a thing set up with balloons with various prices, no more than what it usually costs for banana split, and get the banana split. Of course, the Popcorn Palace, trying to figure a way to smuggle the Popcorn Palace popcorn into the Strand. And the only time I ever went to Cobb Theater was to go see Hush Hush, Sweet and Charlotte. Had Betty Davis in it, you know. The Sportsman, once I got to high school, there were nice people in there, and that's where they'd send us. That's when you didn't have to pay for your own stuff for sports. They say go up and get your shoes because we play basketball and whatever. And I don't know if there's any place else I've left out. Oh, Groover Hardware. Love Groover Hardware. Went to school with Donnie Groover in nursery school. And when we moved in here, my grandfather came to live with us. We loved to go to the Groover Hardware.
That's where I got the dynamite.
Is that
Dynamite wire.
So
Jermaine.
the Halloween explosion, my memory is my brother called home, or he said he tried to call home, or he didn't call home. My mother was really upset, thought he was lying because he and his friends, I think of Mazzara and Charlie Miner and Ronnie Bass, they were waiting at the light right in front of it, in the Peugeot, and they got out. Ronnie Bass was the one that sort of let them all in to go in to help get people out. And I drove that car all through high school with all the dents in it. Of course, my friends would have to push it every once in a while to get started and all. Ann could probably attest to that. But that's it. That's a lot of memories, but they're good memories.
Neil, introduce yourself and tell us your memories.
Okay, Neil Holiday Blake now, and my earliest memories start with my love of reading, which I have carried lifelong. So as a child, I would save my allowance religiously so that I could go to office sales and service and get the latest Nancy Drew book. And I think Bobbsey Twins at Mr. Medford's. But yeah, anyway, that's my big memory is walking from our house on Talcott Circle up to the square and buying books. Another thing I remember is that back then you didn't have to have money. That was a most bizarre thing.
Credit, yeah.
You'd go into Atherton's and get what you needed, and they'd say, "Do you want to put this on your father's account?" I'd be like, "Sure." And they didn't even ask who your father was, so who knows who paid for my stuff. But at any rate, I do remember that. And then a little later in life, I remember as newlyweds, the place to go was the Shillings on the Square, that room up high that you could sit out and look over at the square. So those are my memories.
Yeah, introduce yourself. As a matter of fact, what year did you graduate from Marietta High School too? I should have said that earlier, but go ahead. Your name and
72.
Yeah.
Ann McCarver, well, Ann Welch McCarver. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. One memory I have talking about church, I grew up going to Maple Avenue, but a lot of times I would spend the night at a friend's house and, go to church with them. Well, Joyce Ray went to the Episcopalian church, and I would go with her, and we would sit up in the balcony, and then we would go to St. Atherton's. And go over to St. Atherton's, or sometimes St. Mattress, but still, we would go over there until it was almost time for church to be over, and then we would go sit back up, and no one was the wiser. Just like Neil said, my mother owned a beauty shop, and my father had a service station, both close to the square, not too far from the square. And I would go up and get my shoes or my clothes or whatever, and like her, you just magically sign that little piece of paper, and you didn't ever have to worry about anything. It was wonderful, and I loved getting a little egg from Coggins.
Oh, yeah.
Little golden egg, you know, when you got your shoes there. I was trying to think, there was one other one that I loved. Well, I just loved walking up to the square from my house. It was so safe. You know, you didn't have to worry. But I remember going to the Popcorn Palace and then going into Dr. Cuthbert's in Saliva to get my glasses. Yeah, I always got my glasses there. And my uncle, down behind the Strand where House of Lou is, my uncle owned dry cleaners.
Oh.
And that was his dry cleaners. And so, you know, if I didn't have money, if I would come up here and didn't have money, I'd just go down to him and say, I'd like to get a Coke or whatever. You know, here's money.
Oh.
So, I mean, a bunch of us would walk up here a lot after school, even though we weren't supposed to. For all they knew, I was at Neil's house. Same difference. So, I don't know, I just loved growing up here. Thank you.
Bonnie, yourself, and then here you graduated Marietta, and then your memories.
I graduated from Marietta in '72. Most of y'all. Anyway, I remember, of course, we just lived down on Hazel Street, which is less than a mile down the road, and we would walk up here a lot, and just, you know, we'd try to get, it seemed like there was a lot more trains back then, and almost every time as we would approach the tracks, there would be one coming, so we'd hurry to, you know, not be held back.
Bonnie, hold it close to your mouth. You're a soft talker, so yeah,
Okay.
I want to hear you.
I remember that my dad would take us to the Strand, and he, at the time, the Strand had a policy that if you carried your child in, the child was free.
Oh.
And I think he carried my sister Donna until she was about 12. And I don't know how he managed to sneak it in, but he would always take, in my child's mind, a giant, like one of those bulk mayonnaise jars full of sweet tea.
Oh.
And he would take that in with us, and he always wanted to sit way back under the balcony, almost like on the back row, and so our refreshment
Bonnie,
was the
put it
sweet tea.
on pause. MJ, what's incoming for us?
So we have our spaghetti pomodoro, which is just the tomato base, and then we also have our spaghetti bolognese, which is meat, cream, and some pecorino cheese. The one with meat in it is gonna have that extra.
Is that meat?
No, this is pomodoro, so this is just the tomato base. But the one with meat in it is gonna have pecorino cheese sprinkled on top, so that's how you'll know. So I'll bring in a variety.
Thank you, MJ. Back to you, Bonnie. You have the floor.
And so that was our Strand experience with Daddy. We just stay up under the balcony, drink our tea, watch the movie. The only Cobb movie that I remember seeing was it was a war movie, The Longest Day. Because Daddy wanted us to see anything historical like that and stuff. So I remember the Joanne shop that was on the other side of the square that got torn down, placed here in this building, in this very place, was where Joanne's went to. We went to Atherton's and to Dunaway's, but we loved to go to Hunt's, which was right down Church Street from here, and get ice cream, of course, but they also had really good hamburgers and hot dogs. The hot dogs, they would have some sort of homemade hot dog sauce. It wasn't a chili, it was just a hot dog sauce. And they would also put that on the hamburgers. And it was really good. So I loved growing up close enough. Yes?
I have a question. Did your father ever try to carry more than one child?
He never tried to carry more than one child.
One on the back.
Because he had the one child and he had to have that big jar.
Big jar.
Anyway, so it was wonderful growing up in Marietta. Back then, you really could ride your bike anywhere. You could walk anywhere. It was safe, and it was everybody was friendly. Everybody wanted to take care of you.
Let's give her.
That's it.
Okay, when I came.
Give her the
to this-
microphone, ask her to her.
When I came to this Joanne shop,
Yeah.
talk about somebody following you around. I was a kid, and I did guess they thought we were gonna steal stuff. I hated coming in here, but they had things that I wanted. So I would come in here, and one day I got a little bold, and I turned to the lady and I said, "Ma'am, I'm not gonna steal anything." And she goes, "Well, I didn't think you were." And so I, kind of hurried and got out of here. And my first job, one of my very first jobs, was working for Miss Fletcher at her jewelry store.
Okay, Carol, tell us your name, year you graduated, and your memories.
I'm Carol Dobbs Argo, graduated in '72. And growing up, we lived in a house where the First Methodist parking lot is now. So we were on the square all the time. Several of you have mentioned the Popcorn Palace. One of my aunts at one time managed the Popcorn Palace, and I would come to work with her. So I was there when the hot popcorn was made, and she made up the caramel, and it was hot. So I enjoyed those Saturday mornings with her. And then in the 6th grade, I was a school safety patrol. I had my little badge, but the benefit of that was going to the Strand, and you showed them the badge, you got in free, and you get to stay all day. So I do remember that very well. And back then, on the days that my mother decided to pay all of the bills, I was the one who would be let out in front of the telephone company, the gas company, to go in and pay it. So I knew the square pretty well just from paying bills. But I do have a lot of memories, and of course McClellan's. You had to go to McClellan's. And the thing that I loved the most was the little seats that you could pull down. And you could sit down on that and then get a good limeade. That was the best. So that's all I have.
Let's give it up. Ian, I know you didn't grow up here, but what are your memories of the square? It could be probably more recent than we, but what are your memories of the square, early memories?
Ken Argo, my maiden name's Ken Argo. I have no real memories except when I got older, like right now. I love eating here.
Mary, introduce yourself and year.
Hey y'all, I'm really glad to be here. It's been a little while. So, Mary Maloney Chapel, class of '72. My first memories are like most of y'all, going to Coggins, getting our shoes, and in our family, Mom took every one of us to get our first little walker shoes, those little white shoes that you had to polish all the time. And we also put our purchase on the account. That was fun. And there was a lady that worked there. Her name was Ida. I don't know if y'all remember her, but she was such a sweet lady. She wore these long, like, house dresses, and she had her little pantyhose, not pantyhose, but her hose were rolled down to where you could see them, like, right below her knees. And her big, clunky Oxford type shoes. But she was just the sweetest thing, really. And I'm just going to go around the square. So in Atherton, as I got a little bit older, Laura Lyons and I would go there and get an ice cream cone. And her sister Linus worked behind the soda counter. So she kind of gave us an extra scoop of ice cream. So I love that. And then First National Bank, that's where I got my first savings account. Daddy walked me in there. And that was right after I started working for Southern Bell. And then Bedford's bookstore, of course. I got a lot of cliff notes there because I wasn't as much of an avid reader as Neil. I had to have the short version, but I got it. And McClellan's, I love that. You walked in and you smelled the smell of peanuts and the creaky floors, and they just had a little bit of everything there. That was really awesome. bought shoes at Baker Shoes. I think there was Baker and Murray's Shoes. And then Saul's, my brother Mark worked at Saul's when he was in high school, and so he directed me to all the cool clothes there. Very classic type of thing. I loved going to Joanne shop to get my Bobby Brooks, outfits, and gosh, what were the other brand names? Villager, right? That was fun. Had to save up my babysitting money to get those. So. Oh yeah, my first John Romaine purse came from Joanne's. That's right. Yeah. And going to the Strand with my family and friends, that was such a treat. Very affordable. I don't know if y'all remember a store called the Youth Center. Yeah, the Youth Center, it had classic clothes in there, but my family had to shop there when we all went to St. Joseph's School because they carried our uniforms. So that's where we got our uniforms. And so that was a perfect place to go. And of course, Dunaway's drugstore, my memory of them is the best grilled cheese sandwich ever. Yeah. And so, gosh, that kind of cleans it up for me. But I loved growing up here and walking up to the square and Goldstein's. And yeah, you're right, they did watch you like a hawk. Yeah. But I just went there to flirt with the boys.
Oh.
Yeah, it worked. It worked. That's all.
Give it up to me.
Question, point of information. Do y'all know Mr. Medford was Mike Henderson's either grandfather or great uncle?
Yes.
I can't remember which one it was. He's a relative of Mike Henderson.
His mom was
Debbie, introduce yourself and year you graduated and your memories.
Okay, Debbie Freeman McDaniel, class of 72. There's so many great memories of the square. I tried to come up with just 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
because you're a soft talker.
Anyway, one of my first ones is the Strand, and we saw Gone with the Wind at the Strand. The family, my brother, sister, and mom. And it was so sad when she fell off, the little girl fell off the horse. And it just stuck with me. And then the Popcorn Palace and shopping, the shoe shopping, because there really wasn't anywhere else to shop in this area except for maybe Sears. And we couldn't, or downtown. And we did go downtown some, but just so many things on it. My first checking account was at the First National Bank.
Is the microphone working, hon?
I don't know, can y'all hear me?
No. Is it working?
Testing.
Is it lit? It's lit up. Is it lit up? Okay. Yeah, okay, closer to your mouth.
I'm trying to. Everybody's kind of hit on a lot of everything I can remember, but I still have great memories. Someone asked me just after the 4th of July why I didn't go to Dallas for the fireworks. So I came home to the square for the fireworks. Yeah. I have so many, and still have good memories today. Friends. So, but one last thing was I got my very first kiss at the, on the mouth, in front of the old courthouse.
Whoa.
I thought, well, I'm never gonna kiss a boy again.
Do we know this person?
I don't know, it was Ricky Chandler. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, just kind of random.
Random guy.
It was just, well, I don't know if it was 4 or not. Probably 15, 16. I think I was old enough to get a kiss, but I thought it was just really gross.
He must have used his tongue.
I don't remember all that detail. I just thought, oh. But hopefully I'll still have great memories and remember all the other memories. So, thanks.
Sam, introduce yourself and the year you graduated and your memories.
Pam Cornett Platt, 1972. So everybody has hit on so many. Thank you for helping me remember the youth center. I'd forgotten about that one. And then office sales and service. My mother was close friends with the lady that owned that, Miss Sellers, or whatever was her name.
Margaret Carpenter, that was it. Sellers was that little shop at the hardware store on out Powder Springs. I got them confused. Margaret Carpenter, that was it. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a second just about something that amazes me as a teacher about the squares, because I mean, my first memories, of course, are that playground, and I think I swung on those swings until I was way, way too old to really be doing it. Those things were probably 3 feet wide out of a board that was like this thick from those high chains. And I mean, you know, later with what happened with safety and all, I don't know how we all survived that. And that merry-go-round, I mean, I can remember being there on a Saturday or something when there were just kids hanging off and they were jumping on and off, and we did it so much that there was a trench around it, and then that slide was like, I don't know, over a story tall, I think, or something, and metal, and I mean, now I just think about, you know, how we protect children so, and none of us, I didn't know anybody that got hurt up there, really, but it's astounding, but I guess we knew not to, you know, if you jumped off the swing, to go away from the swing instead of running back under it or whatever. But anyway, but all these stories too that y'all named. But the other thing, well, 2 other things. One real quick is that certainly the Goldsteins thing really stands out because my mother, I don't know why, but it was like for Easter you had to have new everything. I mean, new panties, slip, socks, whatever. And she was not extravagant, you know, about clothes in general, but that something about Easter, it was like, that doesn't. So, and I always had to have a little white sweater to go over my, you know, in case it was cool or whatever. So that tradition stuck, and I took, and you're right, I didn't remember about Miss Goldstein from my childhood, but then I took my daughters there. And I'd go in with Allison, like when she was like 2, and take her out of the stroller. I'd be like, I'm trying to, I said, can we open this sweater so we can try this little white sweater on her? Well, I don't really think she needs to try that. Because I got all the little plastic bags and whatever. And I just remember Philip's sister would just be like,
Pam, put it on pause. MJ, what's incoming?
Bringing in margarita pizzas for y'all.
Great, thank you. Back to you, Pam. You have the
So
floor.
finish that sentence.
Susan. Okay, so yeah, so Miss Goldstein would really be just watching so carefully, but the sister would try to, you know, and then the minute I'd walk away, she'd say, "You're right, just go ahead and do that." Anyway, that was the main thing. Fortunately for me, my mother would go with us too, and she still had the thing. She would pay for all their Easter stuff, so that was good tradition to do. Anyway, those are the main ones.
Sharon, introduce yourself and your year and memories.
I'm Sharon Kane. I graduated in 72, supposed to graduate in 73. I just remember shopping on the square all the time. That's where you got all your clothes. But I remember the Strand most, meeting your boyfriends up there. My mother would send us up there in a cab, and we'd know what time we had to come back home. We'd watch the first movie, and then we'd sneak out and go around the square and do all kinds of stuff. I just remember meeting our boyfriends at the Strand, sitting in the back, holding hands and stuff. But that's about all I remember. Thank you.
Okay. Kathy, introduce yourself, year and memories.
Kathy Honey, in 1973, 1974, I finally got to graduate. And then my cousins owned Dobbins Funeral Home, so me and Missy Holtzy would walk up to Dobbins and then walk all the way up here to Athens and eat French fries and coats and ice cream. I remember Eddie's Trick Shop, that was fun to go to. And I remember when Athens exploded, it was on Halloween, around 6:30, something like that. And let's see, used to go to the Joanne shop, I loved it. I liked the Bobby Brooks clothes, and they would get your size too. They didn't have it. And we used to go to the popcorn palace, and used to go to Dunaway's. And me and Missy walked up here just about every day. She lived in a little rock house down the road on the right. And let's see, Missy Holmes, yeah. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Harold, tell us about yourself, introduce yourself, your memories.
Harold Rosser, my maiden name. Harold Rosser. Let me get this food out of my mouth. Anyway, memories that I have is because of where we lived and everything like that. We lived in Baptist Town, the other W.W. Lee Court, and my summer was spent in Cartersville. So there's less of a memory of the city during the summer. And then the rest of the time was school and work. I do remember coming from Louisville because we were in Lemon Street. I was on my bike, and y'all probably heard this story before, but I got hit by a car. Okay? And this was way back when.
Explains a lot though, Harold.
You're welcome.
I have a question. How old were you?
Be honest with you, that would have been probably 13 or so in that era, if I remember closely. Because I would take my bike. No, I didn't hurt the car. And people got out and I was okay, but that's one memory that I have going through the square. And then we able to shop at the stores and everything like that, Goldstein's and my yellow pants.
Were they polyester?
That got messed up and I dyed them orange. True story. And after I got my motorcycle, I was working at GEX, and then I would come to the square at night, and there happened to be a young lady there. Okay. I didn't even know her name. And she would get on the back of my motorcycle at 11 o'clock at night and we'd go riding.
Did you ask
And then I'd bring her back and that was it. You know, nothing, you know, not the good stories, just a ride and then back and then that was it. But I knew she would be there. And I don't even remember her name or anything like that. But she'd get on my motorcycle. She's a nice, pretty blonde girl. But that's one memory that I do have of just the square. And like everybody else, First National Bank, that first checking account, and you have that savings account that you think is going to leave that little bit of money in there and it's going to accumulate and just grow, and it didn't grow. I'll say close the account. That's all.
Karen, introduce yourself.
Karen Luster Rosser, class of 76. I have a lot of fun memories of the square. My dad and mom both worked at Office Health and Service. Okay, so we would go up there and walk from Office Health and Service over to Saws down the back way. And Mr. Gillis and his son Drew owned Saws. So me and my sisters and brothers would go upstairs in Saws' warehouse, and we drew and we just played. We had a whole little playhouse up there. Okay. And then we'd walk over to McClellan's, which is my first time eating a club sandwich. And that was the best sandwiches. So we'd go over there and eat club sandwiches. Joanne shops, definitely. I bought my first little red coat. And me and my sister both had red coats. And I kept that coat until
Well, I was married. I love the coat. Let's see. And then walking from Louisville to church in Turner's Chapel was on the square, right where the Strand was in that area. We walked through the park.
Where's Louisville?
Louisville is now Marietta Walk. Okay? And so it was a project which was called Louisville then. And we would walk from
Karen, put
there.
it on pause. What's incoming?
This is a sweet corn risotto with local Georgia peaches and black shallots. Yeah, it's vegetarian and it's gluten free.
Back to you, Karen. You have the floor.
Okay, so let's see. So we walked from Louisville on Sunday to go to church. And so we would stop, my older brother, 6 years older than me, we'd stop at the park. And so we wouldn't go to Sunday school. The only issue was everybody at church knew by the time Mom got there that we didn't make it to Sunday school. And so it's McClellan's, Coggins. I never knew about the popcorn place. I don't remember that. And Office Husband Service and Saws. And that's my story.
Our very special guest, Hazel Lord, tell us your memories.
When did you graduate from high school?
Yeah. Yeah.
I graduated from high school in 1946, but not in Marietta. It was in Paulding County, back in the boonies. And I moved to Marietta and went to work immediately right after World War II with helping in the Veterans Administration, doing paperwork for soldiers that were being discharged. Excuse me. I have so many fond memories of the Marietta Square. The old courthouse, they used to have the nativity scene on the square. They would have people sleeping on the benches there. They even, believe it or not, had horses with bales of cotton around the square. You see, I'm telling my age. But one of my favorite things to do was to visit the library, which is now where Whittle's flower shop is. And I would spend hours in there just reading down in the basement. And I walked from where I lived all the way to the square, which was about a mile, and had so much fun doing that. The Joanne shop was there later on. It was owned by a friend of mine. And I just have so many fond memories of the Marietta Square. My children used to go to Medford's bookstore when I was working in Atlanta for a law firm, and they'd say, well, Mom, we don't have the money, but you didn't leave us any money here. And Mr. Medford said, don't worry about it, your mom will pay me when she gets back. So he would let them have anything they wanted. Wow. And so then on the weekends I would go in and pay them. And they bought their clothes. We didn't have shopping centers then around town. And so you'd have to buy their clothes on the square. So it was an interesting time. But it has really changed, is all I can say. Thank you. Oh yes, they had trolleys going around the square to Atlanta. And there were tracks around the square. And when you got on the trolley, you would ride it all the way. When you got down around Smyrna where there was a hill, it would go whoop, whoop, whoop. And you would wonder if it's going to jump off the square. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I moved to Marietta.
You have a question?
I have a question. What street did you grow up on that was close to the square? Or where were you living?
On Sycamore Street.
Down there where the red-eyed mule is now.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. And then we bought a house on Phillips Drive. And then we lived there until my children were 10.
Yeah.
Then we bought Mills House and lived there for 30 years. And then we bought a house on Keeler Woods Drive where I live now. And when we bought that house, my husband said, "This is the perfect house to grow old in." And he was right, because on Neil's house, we had to back down into the street. And I couldn't back down very well, I don't think. But it was fun. I've had a good life, and I'm very proud.
Well, let's give it up. Mary Grace, introduce yourself, you know the drill.
I'm Mary Grace Lord Bright. That's a name, a mouthful. Married to Honka, that's right, yes, yes. I graduated in 72, like Barbara. I was supposed to graduate in 73, but was ready to get the heck out of Marietta High School. The Square, golly gee whiz. I was blessed with a long, very narrow, skinny foot. And so every year we went to Coggins, and Miss Ida or Mr. Geiger measured my foot, and they special ordered my shoes. And because they were so stinking expensive, I got like maybe 2 pairs of shoes a year, because Mom and Dad back then were paying $40 and $50 a pair of shoes for me because they were so narrow. We went to the Athertons after school, got French fries, Coke, charged it, who knows to whom it went to. I do remember, and I don't know why we didn't go much that month, but there was one month that Dad got a bill for like 35 cents, and I remember him going, this is crazy, it costs.
Put the on pause. What's incoming, Greg?
Pan-roasted golden tile, a Vidalia onion, local Georgia blueberries, and local goat cheese salad with a blueberry balsamic.
And this is Greg Littman, the owner-operator. Let's give it up to Greg. Now, Greg, this is Marietta High School's finest right here. We're talking about Marietta Square.
Thank you for coming in. Hopefully we'll see you all for dinner.
Okay. Back to you, Mary Grace. You have the floor.
But I remember Dad saying, well, yeah, gosh, they could have, it cost them more to send me that bill for 35 cents than it did to, for what it was worth. I spent, gosh, Mom, I'm acting like my mother. I spent a lot of hours in the library. I remember, it was right up the street there, and loved it. And I remember those big, tall ceilings and all the volumes and volumes and volumes of books. Mama and Daddy sent Tommy and me, my older brother, to see Gone with the Wind. And during the intermission, Tommy thought it was over, and so we left. And to this day, I have never seen all of Gone with the Wind.
The first part's the best part.
Well, I've never seen the whole movie.
That's
so
funny.
Let's say damn in there.
Oh, no,
Your mother, I'm sure, didn't want you to hear that.
That's probably what it was, because I still, that's the first time I've heard that word, Ken. Ken, you need to go.
Martha, too.
Come over here, Ken. There's so many things, I know, there's so many things that are fun about the square, the shopping, the hanging out, the playground, everything that everybody else has mentioned, and it was just a fun place to be.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Mary Grace.
Thank you, Ron, for putting the bill for you.
And Robin, introduce yourself and tell us.
Robin Hess Janney, class of 73. And I always tell the story that I'm a military person. My dad was in the Navy. We moved here in 1969, and it was culture shock for me. I'm used to being on military bases or maybe in a neighborhood. So I didn't understand how to navigate the square, and I remember going into Joanne's, and the woman there scared me to death. She was so mean, following me around, and I never went back. And it was very, I kept thinking, but the thing that surprised my family the most was that everything closed down at 6 o'clock. And I'd say, the pharmacies are closed at 6 o'clock, and people would say, yeah. I'd say the gas station's closed at 6 o'clock, and they'd say, yeah. So we're in a military kind of basis. It's kind of a community, but it's like open 24/7. I don't know, so it was really weird that everything just shut down.
Hey guys, focus on her one at a time, because I'm actually hearing conversations down there, so I just want to focus here. Okay, back to you, Robin.
And everything was closed on Sunday. You couldn't do anything on Sunday. That was different for us. And I don't think my mother ever came to the square. I don't think we knew about shopping on the square. I'd go with my friends, and I went into Joanne and thought, I'm not going back there. My parents found Sears, and everything in our house was from Sears. So I can remember, I guess I went with a friend. One time everybody was doing Bobby Brooks, and I wanted to have one outfit, and I think I went with Kathy Romano there. But so anything I navigated the square with was with friends, and we walked because we were in walking distance. And I was just amazed at the library I thought it was like, I have never seen anything like the library. And I've always told you how I love Church Street and the square, and we just didn't have anything like this. And it was just like being dropped into a 1950s, 60s movie or something. Whereas in the military, it's different.
And you shopped at the commissary, right?
We did the commissary, so and I guess my mother didn't drive. She didn't have a car, so I had to walk up here. And I didn't know you could just set up an account and charge things. I never had any money. So I might have eaten at Dunaway's one time, but I loved it, but we didn't have any money.
You have a question?
Well, it was more of a comment. Not only did the square close at 5
Well,
6 o'clock.
pass it down.
I can talk louder.
No, really, seriously. No, pass it down, I insist.
Matt's in charge.
That's right, thank you.
Not only did the square close, everybody closed at 5 or 6 o'clock. On Wednesdays, noon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
It was
everybody,
church.
it was church,
Night.
it was church night. So, I mean, if it was Wednesday, you need to get your shopping done before noon.
That's right, good point.
One thing about closing at noon on Wednesdays, the farmers come to town on Saturday. So the bank and all would open up Saturday morning for the farmers when they came to town. So I remember my grandpa done that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Brought stuff to sale.
I have a question for this group.
Pass it down.
Well, you know I can project.
Lower. Yeah, thank you.
I heard the Clark Library mentioned, and then of course when you were talking about the high ceilings and all, that's where now is the museum, the art museum. Okay, so when did it switch from, does anybody know the dates for when it switched from, because they wouldn't have had two branches that close.
It had to be before 67, because it was there in 67, so other than that.
Yeah, because the bigger one stands out to me more, but I do remember this other one. I remembered it being a library. I was just trying to see.
I think that there's a plaque out
There's a
front,
plaque.
and there's like an explanation of the history of
Right.
the Clark Museum.
And the downstairs was about the size of this room. It was a sticky thing.
Pass it up. Mary Grace, pass the microphone.
Here, I wanna say something before you get started.
Do.
I have one more comment about the time and being closed. So another thing was Lockheed. You had to have all your shopping done before, I think it was 3:15 or something, when Lockheed let out. You didn't want to be anywhere near the square or near Lockheed when it let out, because 3,000 cars were coming out. That's when the parking lot was full.
Joanne, tell us about your memories of this. Introduce yourself and where you went to high school here.
Okay. Joanne, my maiden name was Rose. Now I'm Flournoy. And I graduated 1973 from Kingston High School, Kingston, New York. But Matt and I started dating when I was 18 and he was 19. And the summer I came here to visit, I became acquainted with Donna Bearden, who you all probably know, and we were friendly, and I thought she was really an interesting person. Well, I moved down from New Jersey to Charleston, South Carolina, when Matt was stationed there in the Navy. And in 1979, not long after I moved down here, I came to Marietta by myself to help Matt's brother and his wife Julie move into their new apartment. but that evening, I guess I ran into Donna somewhere and she said, "You gotta come up to the Strand and hear my new boyfriend's band."
It's not the Strand.
Oh, not the Strand, Schilling.
Schilling.
Starts with an S. And it's on the block. But anyway, and that's when bands played up there, you know, they had a little stage, but I remember going up there and I met Carol Murray and Flay McCaskill and several of they were kind of like a gang.
Little Harrelson too.
Yes, and they were hilarious. They just reminded me of friends that I grew up with in New York, and I just fell in love. It was just wonderful. So that was a really nice memory. And I have one question for Bonnie. What was that gold egg? Was it
Coggins?
At Coggins, they sold red goose.
Yeah,
goose shoes.
So
Was there a toy?
fries inside.
And there was fries inside.
Fries, like
And they had a little red goose, and you got.
And he would lay the
to
egg.
It would lay the egg,
And
and
you-
you got the egg.
Was it plastic or metal?
It was
Plastic.
plastic. Easter egg.
Okay, I thought maybe it was like a foil egg with chocolate.
No, a little toy or something in
Oh,
it.
that's so cute. Okay, well, anyway, I'm finished.
Yay, give it a
My name is Matt Flournoy, graduated from Westminster Schools in Atlanta in 1970, but I'm an honorary member of the class of 72, but I grew up here in Marietta, and I have very pleasant memories, and I'll tell you some of the ones that, Jimmy the Greek's restaurant. Now, it wasn't there in the 60s, but in the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was a place to go for all the lawyers to go at lunchtime. Got to know Mary Dularis and Jimmy Dularis and their children. Nomikos, we were invited to all their weddings, and they had two doors, Sunday and Friday, days of the week. And so we also, the Sportsman, it was a very small space, but it's right on Whitlock, right across from Atherton's, and very close to here. And that's where I went to get my football cleats. And the cleats, when I wore them, they were defective. The cleats would come up through the soles and go into my foot. So it was torture. And I jerry-rigged several things to put in there to keep it from, but they were top of the line shoes, but they were just crap. And so I remember that. And some other memories, let's see, the library, it was here, it was a Marietta library, not Cobb County. It's right there at Lemon Street and Church, and it's now a florist. It's right there next to the Baptist Church, across the street from the Episcopalian. But I remember going there as a young kid, and during the summer they would have competition. How many books can you read? And if you got over so many, you got a prize. And I remember reading the book Mrs. Pickerel Goes to Mars, Mrs. Pickerel Goes to New York, Mrs. Pickerel Goes to Rome, Mrs. Pickerel, and I remember there was one about push carts in New York. I had no idea what a push cart is. I've never seen a push cart. Now I've seen a grocery cart, but they kept talking about push cart. Didn't have the internet back then. All I had is a dictionary and the World Book Encyclopedia, and if it wasn't there, I just didn't know. And if you asked your parents, they would make up something. They didn't really admit they didn't know, so they would make up something, and I would get wrong information. And so, anyway, and so
I got a question.
Yeah, question.
I'm done. I'm talking. I'm thankful you didn't get a brain concussion during that reading, or I had to read the books for you, like I did when I used your science notebook. Oh, I remember that.
And thank you for helping me get that A when you got a B.
I got a B. Wow, they were exactly the same.
But let me just say this, I got the sympathy A because I was injured with 2 broken arms. That's why I did it. There's sympathy.
2 broken arms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2 arms. I do it right. Now, let's circle back to the square. We got hijacked for a second. Yeah, that was a good example.
Semi-germane.
It was strange. And also, I remember going to my father's law office. He had his office above Saul's department store. It was Reed, Ingram, and Flournoy. And this is in the 1960s. I'd walk up this long, narrow staircase. It creaked, and you take a left, and you go in there, and they had the library, had all these books, Georgia Reports, Georgia Court of Appeals. I would open them up, and they have dust on the top, and I said, no one's looked at this book in probably 40 years, you know. But anyway, I remember going up there, and they had one of the first air conditioners. They had a window-mounted air conditioner, which was very unusual because this is in the 1950s and 60s, and had very good experience. And I think that seeing a lawyer in a law firm that inspired me to, my father never said, Matt, you should be a lawyer. It was a natural thing to do, kind of like if your dad was a doctor, you would be a doctor. If you ran a gas station, you run a gas station. You sold insurance, you sell insurance. So anyway, I had very positive experiences. And let's see, one other thing. No, well, I'm finished. Now, does anybody like to say something? I'll pass the microphone. Yeah, okay, follow.
I know you probably think I'm hung up on your dad, but I remember a saying he used to say, if you can't buy it on the square, you don't need it. Back then, that was, you could get anything you needed at on the square. So I remember him saying that.
That's awesome.
Pass it, Karen.
I forgot about Hunt's because we would leave high school and walk up to Hunt's during lunch break to get hot dogs.
Where was Hunt's?
Hunt's. Where was Hunt's?
Down. Right next to George's.
No, there was one.
Oh, yeah, that's
The one on the square.
Yeah. George Segalis, yeah.
Do you remember where the shoe store was on Church Street, the shoe repair shop?
Yeah.
It was right across the alley from that.
Oh, really? It's over here? Okay. Okay.
What was?
What?
I can remember that smell there.
Wait, Robin's got something. Rob, pass it this way. Robin, you've got the floor as soon as you get the microphone.
I'm just tagging on to Barbara. When the tattoo shops opened up on the square, I said, now you can get everything on the square.
But I'll tell you, I remember in the 70s though, when the malls were big, you had Cobb Center Mall and you had the other malls, and it just sucked all the merchants, and the square was dying in the 1970s, and there were a lot of vacancies. It was mainly antique stores, and you had very few restaurants really. You had Schillings and you had Jimmy the Greeks, but there were not many choices. Now you got a lot, but it's really done a wonderful revival. But it was in the 70s. It was really, and the Strand Theater was one time it was a church. They had bands up there. They had cheap beer up there, but it was really struggling.
The church had cheap beer.
There was a church. There was a church.
Must have been an interesting smell on Sunday.
Beer smell.
And then they had rock and roll bands.
What year did Cobb Center open?
Cobb Center opened in the 60s, but Town Center Mall and Cumberland Mall came after, and that's sucked all.
Yeah, I mean, I worked at Bridges at the Cobb Center, I just couldn't remember when it opened.
It opened in the late 60s. I remember in high school going to see
Wait, let's
all the bands.
Mary Grace. Let's talk about Cobb Center because it opened in the 60s, and it was the big one. Riches there. And they had Paul Revere and the Raiders come and play. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was there, and I grabbed one of his guys. They had the outfits like pirates type stuff, and I grabbed one and ripped off part of his thing and had it. It was like
A souvenir.
They had stitched it very poorly, knowing that it would be ripped off, so it was very easy. I didn't. So
They wanted the girls.
Mary Grace.
That was exactly what I was saying.
Was
that the Cobb Center opened up in the late 60s, because I remember in high school going down there to see Paul Revere and the Raiders, because that was like the opening of Cobb Center, and I can remember going, and I couldn't see, and some man finally put me up on his shoulder so I could see.
I got it. Bonnie, you're next. Okay.
So I have another memory of Fletcher's.
Oh yeah.
So Fletcher's used to, when you got married and you had your place settings and your silver, you registered, thank you. They would set it out they would set the whole table out with all your stuff.
Oh, your choices.
Yes,
With
all
your
your,
name?
yes. So there could be 6, 8 tables in there of all the different people getting married and all their choices, and that was be where you went. And it was really fun for the females. And then, of course, we had Wilson Brothers.
Yes.
One of my first pieces of jewelry was from Wilson Brothers, from Chuck Hunter.
Oh, all right. Hey.
All right, that's
Bonnie,
it.
you have to say something. Pass it, Bonnie.
I do remember when Cobb Center opened, a lot of the merchants on the square had locations there.
Johnny Walker's.
Saul's was over there, where I got my first job. Let's see, and I think Joanne opened a place over there.
Yeah.
Dunaway's had a drugstore over there, so there was a lot of, and it's not like, they didn't close here and open there, it was an additional location, which, I don't remember that.
I can't hear you. Yeah.
She was, Lois Ashworth was at a Cobb Center also.
I know it was at East Cobb, I know it was at East Cobb, but I didn't know if they did it at the other one too.
Ken, you want to say something?
I have another personal gripe. Okay, go ahead.
Pass it to him.
Back to me.
Pass it to him.
Who wronged you?
What did he do this time?
It wasn't him, it was Martha. She had a job as head of sales at Riches. Got 10 hours credit at college for that. I exempted 2 maths, got no credit. So, just another gripe.
Pass it, who has something to say?
I was gonna say, leaders, we didn't talk much about leaders. Mrs. Leader was one of my mom's
Lilo.
customers at her shop. And she had a really, really deep
German accent.
accent, yes. And I would go in there and shop, and she never could remember me. Never could remember me. I would go in there and I would start looking, and you know how they follow you around. And I said, "Hey, Miss Leader," I said, "I'm Miss Welch's daughter at the beach." "Oh, okay." Then she wouldn't follow me. But every time I went in there, like to look for jeans or something or whatever, she would follow me around like that, and it just drove me crazy.
I remember at Leaders, when it was over on this side of the square, they had that big staircase that went up, and there was a huge pair of jeans. 3 of us could have gotten into those jeans.
So do you guys remember in PE, you had to wear these PE uniforms, these blue things with the snaps?
Yes.
You had to go to the sportsman to get that? Yeah, those lovely outfits. And I also remember at Cobb Center, they had a movie theater. And it's a little bit older memory, but my parents would not let me go see the movie Woodstock. They said it was pornography, and I was ready to leave home over that one.
Come on.
Anybody have anything? Well, are we ready to, I said we need to do a group photo.
Oh, dessert.